Hello, I'm going to read you chapter 26 of James and the Giant Peach today. So in chapter 25, can you remember the peach was flying away and the centipede was singing them all a lovely song? And at the very end of the chapter, James said, "Look out, centipede, look out!" But we didn't know what he was looking at, did we? So let's find out. Chapter 26. The centipede, who had begun dancing wildly round the deck during this song, had suddenly gone too close to the downward curving edge of the peach, and for 3 awful seconds he had stood teetering on the brink, swinging his legs frantically in circles in an effort to stop himself from falling over backwards into space. But before anyone could reach him, down he went. He gave a shriek of terror as he fell, and the others, rushing to the side and peering over, saw his long, poor body tumbling over and over through the air, getting smaller and smaller until it was out of sight. "Silkworm!" yelled James. "Quick, start spinning!" She was still very tired from spinning all that silk for the seagulls, but she did as she was told. "I'm going down after him," cried James, grabbing the silk string as it started coming out of the silkworm and tying the end of it around his waist. "The rest of you hold on to Silkworm so I don't pull her over with me, and later on, if you feel 3 tugs on the string, start hauling me up again." He jumped and he went tumbling down after the centipede, down, down, down towards the sea below. And you can imagine how quickly the silkworm had to spin to keep up with the speed of his fall. "We'll never see either of them again," cried the ladybird. "Oh dear, just when we were all so happy." Miss Spider, the glowworm, and the ladybird all began to cry. So did the earthworm. "I don't care a bit about the centipede," the earthworm sobbed, "but I really did love that boy." Very softly, the old green grasshopper started to play the funeral march on his violin, and by the time he had finished, everyone, including him, was in a flood of tears. Suddenly, there came 3 sharp tugs on the rope. "Pull!" shouted the old green grasshopper. "Everyone get behind me and pull." There was about a mile of string to be hauled in, but they all worked like mad, and in the end, over the side of the peach, there appeared a dripping wet James with a dripping wet centipede clinging to him tightly with all 42 of his legs. "He saved me!" gasped the centipede. "He swam around in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean until he found me." "My dear boy," the old green grasshopper said, patting James on the back, "I do congratulate you." "My boots! Just look at my precious boots! They are ruined by the water!" cried the centipede. "Be quiet! You are lucky to be alive," the earthworm said. "Are we still going up and up?" asked James. "We certainly are, and it's beginning to get dark." "I know, it'll soon be night." "Why don't we all go down below and keep warm until tomorrow morning?" Miss Spider suggested. "No," the old green grasshopper said. "I think that would be very unwise. It will be safer if we all stay up here through the night and keep watch. Then, if anything happens, we shall anyway be ready for it." And that's the end of chapter 26. So, 27. James Henry Trotter and his companions crouched close together on top of the peach as the night began closing in around them. Clouds like mountains towered high above their heads on all sides, mysterious, menacing, overwhelming. Gradually it grew darker and darker, and then a pale 3/4 moon came up over the tops of the clouds and cast an eerie light over the whole scene. The giant peach swayed gently from side to side as it floated along, and the hundreds of silky white strings going upwards from its stem were beautiful in the moonlight. So also was the great flock of seagulls overhead. You see the peach. There was not a sound anywhere. Travelling upon the peach was not in the least like travelling in an aeroplane. The aeroplane comes clattering and roaring through the sky, and whatever might be lurking secretly up there in the great cloud mountains goes running for cover at its approach. That is why people who travel in aeroplanes never see anything. But the peach, yes, the peach, was a soft, stealthy traveller, making no noise at all as it floated along. And several times during that long silent night ride high up over the mountain, the middle of the ocean in the moonlight, James and his friends saw things that no one had ever seen before. Once, as they drifted silently past a massive white cloud, they saw on the top of it a group of strange, tall, wispy-looking things that were about twice the height of ordinary men. They were not easy to see at first, because they were almost as white as the cloud itself. But as the peach sailed closer, it became obvious that these things were actually living creatures, who looked as though they were made out of a mixture of cotton wool and candy floss and thin white hairs. "Oh," said the ladybird, "I don't like this at all." "Shh," James whispered back. "Don't let them hear you. They must be cloud men." "Cloud men?" they murmured, huddling closer together for comfort. "Oh dear, oh dear." "I'm glad I'm blind and can't see them," the earthworm said, "or I would probably scream." You see the cloud men. "I hope they don't turn around and see us," Miss Spider stammered. "Do you think they would eat us?" the earthworm asked. "They would eat you," the centipede answered, grinning. "They would cut you up like a salami and eat you in thin slices." The poor earthworm began to quiver all over with fright. "But what are they doing?" the old green grasshopper whispered. "I don't know. Let's watch and see," James answered softly. The cloud men were all standing in a group, and they were doing something peculiar with their hands. First, they would reach out, all of them at once, and grab handfuls of cloud. Then they would roll these handfuls of cloud in their fingers until they turned into what looked like large white marbles. They would then toss the marbles to one side, quickly grab more bits of cloud, and start over again. It was all very silent and mysterious. The pile of marbles beside them kept growing larger and larger. Soon there was a truckload of them there at least. "They must be absolutely mad," the centipede said. "There's nothing to be afraid of here." "Be quiet, you pest," the earthworm whispered. "We shall all be eaten if they see us." But the cloud men were much too busy with what they were doing to have noticed the great peach floating silently up behind them. Then the watchers on the peach saw one of the cloud men raising his long wispy arms above his head, and they heard him shouting, "All right, boys, that's enough. Get the shovels." And all the other cloud men immediately let out a strange high-pitched whoop of joy and started jumping up and down and waving their arms in the air. Then they picked up enormous shovels and rushed over to the pile of marbles and began shoveling them as fast as they could over the side of the cloud into space. "Down they go," they chanted as they worked. "Down they go, hail and snow, freezes and sneezes and noses will blow." "It's hailstones," whispered James excitedly. "They've been making hailstones, and now they are showering them down to the people in the world below." "Hailstones?" the centipede said. "That's ridiculous. It's summertime. You don't have hailstones in summertime." "They are practicing for the winter," James told him. "I don't believe it," shouted the centipede, raising his voice. "Shh," the others whispered. And James said softly, "For heaven's sake, centipede, don't make so much noise." The centipede roared with laughter. Those imbeciles couldn't hear anything. They're deaf as doorknobs. You watch." And before anyone could stop him, he had cupped his front feet to his mouth and was yelling at the Cloudmen as loud as he could. "Idiots! Nincompoops! Half-wits! Blunderheads! What on earth do you think you're doing over there?" The effect was immediate. The Cloudmen jumped around as if they had been stung by wasps. And when they saw the great golden peach floating past them not 50 yards away in the sky, they gave a yelp of surprise and dropped their shovels to the ground. And there they stood with the moonlight streaming down all over them, absolutely motionless, like a group of tall, white, hairy statues, staring and staring at the gigantic fruit as it went sailing by. The passengers on the peach, all except the centipede, sat frozen with terror, looking back at the Cloudmen and wondering what was going to happen next. "Now you've done it, you pest," whispered the earthworm to the centipede. "I'm not frightened of them," shouted the centipede, and to show everybody once again that he wasn't, he stood up to his full height and started dancing about and making insulting signs at the Cloudmen with all 42 of his legs. This evidently infuriated the Cloudmen beyond belief. All at once, they spun round and grabbed great handfuls of hailstones and rushed to the edge of the cloud and started throwing them at the peach, shrieking with fury all the time. "Look out!" cried James. "Quick, lie down! Lie flat on the deck!" It was lucky they did. A large hailstone can hurt you as much as a rock or a lump of lead if it is thrown hard enough. And my goodness, how those Cloudmen could throw. The hailstones came whizzing through the air like bullets from a machine gun, and James could hear them smashing against the sides of the peach and burying themselves in the peach flesh with horrible squelching noises. Plop, 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 and then ping, 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 as they bounced off the poor ladybird's shell because she couldn't lie as flat as the others. And then crack, as one of them hit the centipede right on the nose, and crack again as another one hit him somewhere else. "Ow!" he cried. "Ow! Stop! Stop! Stop!" But the Cloudmen had no intention of stopping. James could see them rushing about on the cloud like a lot of huge hairy ghosts, picking up hailstones from the pile, dashing to the edge of the cloud, hurling the hailstones at the peach, dashing back again to get more, and then, when the pile of stones was all gone, they simply grabbed handfuls of cloud and made as many more as they wanted, and much bigger ones now, some of them as large as cannonballs. "Quickly!" cried James. "Down the tunnel or we'll all be wiped out." There was a rush for the tunnel entrance, and half a minute later everybody was safely downstairs inside the stone of the peach, trembling with fright and listening to the noise of the hailstones as they came crashing against the side of the peach. "I'm a wreck," groaned the centipede. "I am wounded all over." "It serves you right," said the earthworm. "Would somebody kindly look and see if my shell is cracked?" the ladybird said. "Give us some light," shouted the old green grasshopper. "I can't," wailed the glowworm. "They've broken my bulb." "Then put in another one," the centipede said. "Be quiet a moment," said James. "Listen, I do believe they're not hitting us anymore." They all stopped talking and listened. Yes, the noise had ceased. The hailstones were no longer smashing against the peach. "We've left them behind. The seagulls must have pulled us away out of danger. Hooray! Let's go up and see." Cautiously, with James going first, they all climbed back up the tunnel. James poked his head out and looked around. "It's all clear," he called. "I can't see them anywhere." And that's the end of chapter 27. See you tomorrow.